we're ready for you to walk us through the bulletins.
Okay, sounds good, Chris. Thanks for the intro. Chris mentioned the Chrome update that came out with the zero-day vulnerability. There were some questions actually in the chat around this as well. It's CVE 2025-24201. I have highlighted there in red. It did come out, like Chris said, on Monday with that particular Chrome release, so be aware of that one. Make sure you get this into your round of updates here shortly. Adobe Acrobat and Reader, number of vulnerabilities, 9 that were addressed in this particular update. Adobe did rate it at their highest rating of 3 because 6 of those are critical and 3 of those are rated as important, so make sure you get this one out. Incidentally, if you're looking at our content, that will be going out today. We had some issues with this particular patch yesterday, and it will be released today in our content, so be aware of that one in case you're looking for it. The other ones did come out yesterday as planned. We had a security update for Adobe Illustrator. Again, Chris mentioned the Creative Cloud slide of things. 6 vulnerabilities addressed in this one. Adobe did rate this one with their critical rating as well. There were 3 critical vulnerabilities as well as 3 important ones addressed in this particular application. And finally, Adobe InDesign as well had 9 vulnerabilities, 7 rated critical and 2 important. So again, keep your Creative Suite up to date on both Windows and Mac to address those particular vulnerabilities. None of these were reported as exploited in the wild, so they are not 0 days per se. But you want to make sure, obviously, to cover yourself and make sure that the vulnerabilities are fixed in the latest versions you're running. Moving on to the Microsoft side, we saw the Windows 11 update come out yesterday as well, of course. Last month they had 37 vulnerabilities. This month 36, so kind of staying at the same kind of level there roughly. In Windows 11 there were 5 of those 0 days that Chris described earlier that were known exploited that were addressed in this particular update. None of the CVEs in there were publicly disclosed. There were some issues that were fixed. You might remember the Open SSH issue that we've had for the last couple of months. That one has been resolved finally, so it's dropped off the books. Hopefully it has been fixed in your environment with this latest round of updates as well, and everything's running well there. They still do have this Citrix issue that they introduced 2 months ago. It's a session recording agent issue, so I've called it here the Citrix _SRA. You'll see that it applies to a couple of different versions of the Windows 11 operating system, and you'll see it in Windows 10 as well. This one's been around now for a little bit. Hopefully they'll get this one resolved soon. It is a known issue in these particular versions that I have listed here of Windows 11, the 22H2 version, the 24H2, and the Server 2025 version. Windows 10, same number of vulnerabilities addressed. There are some slight differences in the actual vulnerability numbers in case you're wondering. This particular first CVE here was not present in Windows 11, but it is present in Windows 10. That's the 24983 vulnerability. So all 6 of the 0 days Chris talked about are fixed in Windows 10. This one was not present in Windows 11, as I said. Couple of known issues around Windows 10. Again, that same Citrix issue that I talked about earlier. There's also this information, this Windows Event Viewer issue. There's been some chat about it in different forums. This one was introduced last month. It hasn't been resolved yet. And so there was some commentary in like patch management, for example, the patch management forum talking about this. So still not resolved. Hopefully they get to this one here soon. Just be aware of that one as you're installing the latest updates for Windows 10. On the Office side, both Office updates, the on-premise version as well as the click-to-run versions, were rated critical as well this month. Large number of vulnerabilities fixed this month. There were 10 for Microsoft Office. You can see they impact Access, Excel, the general Office suite, of course, the Office Mac side, as well as Word 2016. So again, a wide-ranging number of vulnerabilities there. CVE 26630 was the one that's publicly disclosed, and Chris had talked about that one earlier. Again, none of the 0 days per se in this particular update. Under the click-to-run version, again rated critical, 1 additional vulnerability addressed here. This covers the 4 versions, whether it be Office 365, 2019, and the 2 long-term service channel versions, 2021 and 2024. So again, no known issues reported on these updates. If you see anything, let us know. When I first saw the list come out from my team about what they had released this month, it didn't look like a lot. But then I realized that the security updates without CVEs, there were a large number of updates that were released this month. So be aware that, as Chris said, Patch Tuesday may be the big one for Microsoft, but a lot of these vendors release continuously throughout the month, and you want to make sure that you keep up with all these updates. We do break them into security updates with CVEs when the vendors provide the CVE information. I have those here on the next couple of slides. I'll show you that. If we don't they don't publish CVEs, but they say there are security fixes in these, we list them in this middle group here. So that's generally the largest group, like I said, in the overall list of patches that we release. And finally, we do have non-security updates if the vendor doesn't say anything in particular, maybe a performance update or a bug fix or something like that, but they don't say anything specific to security. We lump them into this last category.
Yeah, and I think one thing, Todd, to note on that is keep in mind most of these vendors, they're a continuous update stream. So where you are point in time, that specific release may resolve vulnerabilities in that particular step. But if the next machine is N-3, you could be resolving CVEs from multiple of those 3 versions that it's behind. So a lot of vendors will have a security branch and a non-security branch. Those security updates without CVEs are typically that security branch. Even if that update did not have CVEs documented, the version before or after it might. So that's why we keep it in a continuous stream on the security side, where some vendors like Java, they'll specifically have I can't remember if it's the odd or even, but basically one version is the security related, one version is the non-security related. So the ones that never have security related items in it is the ones that go into that non-security bucket. So little nuance there, but definitely helps people understand why we keep things without a CVE tied directly to that release in more of a security track.
Thanks, Chris. The ones that did have CVEs released this month, Adobe InCopy was released. Google Chrome, a couple versions of that. As Chris mentioned, these are generally weekly updates that come out usually on a Tuesday. We did see the one this week, though. It came out on Monday a little bit early. Firefox, of course, gets some regular updates. It also has some non-security releases as well. In this case, Firefox 136, large number of vulnerabilities were addressed, 16 listed here. Don't forget the long-term service version they call extended support versions, ESRs, also are getting regular security updates as well. So if you're having to run one of these older versions of Firefox, make sure you're continuing to update them as well. LibreOffice had a number of updates this month. Thunderbird, the email program also from Mozilla, gets regular updates as well. We saw an update from VMware Workstation addressing 3 vulnerabilities as shown there. And finally, for those of you who are in the debug mode and running Wireshark, both versions of Wireshark got some updates this month as well, addressing one CVE each, I should say. Onto the Apple side, we did see some security updates with CVEs released as well between Patch Tuesdays. I have those listed here. Large number of non-security updates as well. Of course, Google Chrome running on Mac, as you would expect. Regular updates there. Again, the weekly updates that come out for the Windows side, also on the Apple side. We did see an Emacs update. So those of you who are using that particular editor addressed 2 vulnerabilities. Of course, the usual Firefox, which is also running on Apple Mac OS, and Firefox, of course. And of course, those of you that run Edge, we have the regular updates for Microsoft Edge running on the Apple platform as well. And finally, Thunderbird.